Hello, hello, hello. Hope everybody's doing good. All right, what I'm doing here is I use the same grinder for wood and metal because I just can't afford to have separate grinders for that. So after I use this grinder for metal, of course I have water involved. And water, when left on an object, will rust it if it's metal, or if it's a high stainless, it will not rust it unless it's high carbon stainless. So what I do is I sand it down real good and I put a really nice thin coat of machine oil on it. That repels the water and it keeps it from rusting, and it makes this thing smoother because I use an angled jig to grind with. That's just how I do it. So with that said, I make sure everything's clean before I start. That way this jig has no bumps or impediments to keep it from smoothly transitioning across the belt. And another thing, when you're using metal and wood on the same grinder, which I do, always check to make sure that you don't have any wood shavings or dust underneath that could catch fire when you go back to metal. Just make sure you take something and clean all that up. So today, we're going to be cleaning and polishing these blades, which they're heat treated and annealed. Nice straw color in the edge. They'll turn out just fine. So we're going to do that. And after that's done, we started grinding on our draw knives, which really are turning out nice. We'll get them finished up later. These knives are priority right now, so we have to take care of priorities. They got to get shipped out soon. So we'll do that. We'll add some water to our bucket. Where's my water? There's my water. Always keep that blade cool after you've already done your heat treat and everything, got your hardness in it that you want. You don't want it to soften back up from getting too hot. So we'll add our water to our bucket. Keep our blade cool as we're grinding, cleaning it up. Make sure you got plenty of water, usually a couple bottles. And don't forget, safety is a priority. So we'll be wearing a dust mask and one of these. Protect us from the sparks that may have come off the belt or anything that may fly apart. So I'll clamp this thing in here, set the angle, and we'll get to finishing it up. When I get one cleaned up, I'll bring you back and let you see it. All I'm going to do is just clamp it in this vise where it's resting nice and level. Clamp it in there just like that. And then I'll clean up that profile on both sides, and then I'll clean up the flat, and we'll be done with it.
Hey Papa, can I have a super glue?
Get back with you. Okay, here these knives are cleaned up. We got them cleaned up on the Koontz grinder over there. We're going to dry them off. And the rest of the way, these knives will be all hand sanded and polished. This process from a satin finish to a polished finish requires many more hours. So, with that said, it is what it is. It's what the customer wants, and that's what the customer's going to get. So, we'll get the water off of them, and we'll probably go with oil to keep them from getting any surface rust on them, because this is high carbon steel. It will rust. But you can see they're cleaned up pretty good. Very distinct. Great knives. What I'll do is I will change belts over there and clean up these edges first, and then I'll just come in here, my homemade vise. I'll clamp one in here to where I know the handle's gonna stop. We'll put a little pressure on it and we'll lock it in place. And what that's gonna do is allow me a steady rest where I can set and sand on these profiles. Sweet. So I'll get to getting and bring you back when I get one polished and cleaned up and you can see it. Oh yeah, remind me not to walk into them. That's now we can continue on. We got the edges cleaned up all the way around. The knives are ready for final sanding and polishing. Then when I get the handles on them and everything cleaned up, I'll sharpen them. Get back with you. Okay, welcome back. Just want to explain something. How I do this process. When a client wants a knife highly polished, okay? What that involves is, after I get it cleaned up, get all the burnt carbon and everything off of the surface from the heat treating process from over there, I bring that knife over here and I clamp it in this vise, which I can rotate, okay? Now, what I do is I add water to this sandpaper in wooden block, and I start at 120. And I go all the way up, 220, 400, 600, 800, 1500, 1000, 2000, and then when I'm done, all the way to 8,000. Okay? Now this process requires that I take this wet, and if you notice, I don't know if you can see this or not, but this, you can see it right there. This steel has structure, grain, okay? So doesn't sandpaper. With each grit, I have to sand in one direction till all the scratches are out. Then I sand in another direction with the same grit twice to eliminate those scratches going the first direction. Once I do that and I come over here and I don't see any lines running in the opposite direction, then I can stop and move up a grit. Once I do that, I can move up a grit. So I do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times before this is actually done and on the buffer. And once this knife handle or this knife blade and that much of the front that will be exposed from under the handle, once that is done and buffed, I tape it up. Then and only then can I move to the handles. Then when the handles are applied, sanded, cleaned up, I can remove this tape, go back to the handle and clean them all up one final time before final buffing. So I just wanted to go over that with y'all so you know why it takes so long to do custom knife work at this stage. So everybody, please be patient. It requires some extensive sanding. All I do is I'll put a few drops of water on the blade, put a few drops of water on my sandpaper, rub it in, rub this over here like this. And this is the next grit from 120, so I'm up to 220. All I do is just find the profile I want it to be at and just slowly sand them marks out till there's no more marks from the previous grit left on this blade. And this is basically what I do to get a mirror finish on a knife. Yes, I could probably use the grinders, but I can only go up to like 400. I don't know if they make a belt any finer than that. They probably do. But there's nothing like hand finished work. So just wanted to share that with y'all. So I'm going to be here probably a couple days doing this. It is what it is, but the results speak for themselves. I love y'all. When I get it polished, I'll bring you back.